Okay, now that you have a better understanding of the structure of the skin, we should be able to go a little bit more in depth on some of the functions of the skin. So we'll begin by talking about each one of these. Remember, at the very beginning we talked about thermoregulation and blood reservoir protection, sensations, excreting and absorbing, and making vitamin D. So let's begin by having a brief look at each of these. So thermoregulation is the homeostatic regulation of body temperature. So the skin contributes to thermoregulation in two ways. One, by allowing sweat to escape from the body at the surface and by adjusting the flow of blood in the dermis. So when you're in an environment that the temperature is high, or you're increasing the heat inside the body because you're exercising, sweat production from those eccrine sweat glands increases. As that sweat evaporates from the skin, it lowers body temperature. In addition to that, blood vessels in the dermis can dilate or become bigger. When that happens, more blood flows to the dermis, which increases the amount of heat lost from the body. When you're in an environment of low temperature, the production of sweat is decreased, which helps you retain heat, but also there's less blood going out to the dermis in the skin, so the blood vessels constrict or become smaller. By decreasing the amount of blood that goes out to the skin, we decrease the heat that's lost from the body. Blood flow to the dermis and sweat helping to regulate the temperature regulation. So that should be a little easier to understand now. The dermis houses a very extensive network of blood vessels that carries a lot of blood. So at any given time, the blood vessels in the dermis hold about 8 to 10% of total blood flow. So reservoir simply means extra storage. So at any given time, we've got extra blood storing and flowing through those vessels. So the skin surface serves as protection. It does so in several different ways. Keratin protects the underlying tissues from bacteria getting in, from abrasions and heat and chemicals, and the way that those keratinocytes lock together tightly helps to prevent things from getting in that shouldn't get in. Lipids that are released by those lamellar granules help to inhibit evaporation of water from the skin, so that prevents us from dehydrating, but they also keep us from taking in excess water across the skin into the body when we're showering or bathing or swimming. The secretions from the sebaceous glands, the oils, help to keep skin and hair from drying out, but also contain bacterial chemicals that either kill or inhibit the growth of bacteria. The acidic pH of perspiration or sweat also inhibits the growth of some bacteria. The pigment melanin helps to shield the DNA in the cells in the stratum basale against UV radiation. There's also immune system cells, the macrophages that are present in there, the wandering macrophages and the phagocytes, so helping to protect the body by keeping things out or prohibiting the growth of things, or once they get in, macrophages eating it away. The body also provides cutaneous sensations, so helping us to sense things that arise in and on the skin, touch and pressure, vibration and tickling, as well as the thermal sensations such as warm and cold. Also, we have pain receptors that are located in the skin that helps to alert us of things that are potentially going to cause damage to the body. The skin has a small role in excretion or the elimination of things from the body, and absorption, bringing things into the body. So excretion, getting rid of waste products, absorption, being able to take things in. So even though the skin is sort of almost waterproof because of the stratum corneum, we do still have a lot of water that evaporates through it each day. In addition to that, we absorb a lot of substances across the skin. But a lot of things, it's a very, very small amount. However, some things do penetrate the skin pretty easily. These include some of the fat-soluble vitamins such as A, D, E, and K, certain drugs and gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide, and even toxic materials can get across the skin and into the body, especially some of the organic solvents such as acetone that we find in nail polish remover, some of the chemicals associated with dry cleaning, and some of the salts of heavy metals like lead and arsenic and mercury, substances that are found in poison ivy and poison oak. But then there are also things that can be applied topically or to the skin, such as cortisone creams that help to ease the itch and inflammation associated with some of the things that are irritating to the skin. And then certain drugs can be absorbed across the skin simply by applying adhesive patches to the skin that contains those drugs. So birth control pills and motion sickness patches, some of the most common transdermal or across the skin administration of drugs. The skin is also important for synthesizing calcitriol that allows vitamin D to be made in the body. Vitamin D is important because without vitamin D, we don't absorb enough calcium from the foods that we eat as they pass through the gastrointestinal tract. Did you ever wonder why your milk is vitamin D fortified? It's vitamin D fortified because it contains a lot of calcium. So by adding that vitamin D, it allows us to absorb that calcium more easily. So the skin creates a precursor molecule to that vitamin D, and then vitamin D helps us to absorb that calcium.